Welcome to Lead Live, reminding you of your personal genius and how you think in order to actualize what you desire.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see you again, and it's very good to be here with Dr. Kwende again. Good afternoon. I wanted to say morning. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Kwende.
Good afternoon, Dr. Webb. How are you today?
I am very fortunate. I feel good. I am happy. I have a lot of reasons to be joyful, especially when I think about nieces and nephew. And I just mentioned one of my nephews, right? And I think about his kids and I think about all my nieces and nephews, godchildren. I am always filled with absolute love and honoring. And how are you?
I'm doing amazing. I feel blessed, and family is good, business is good, and life is good. But there,
Life is
always
good.
things in life that you have to deal with. But
You
otherwise,
got
it's
it.
good. Yeah.
You got it. I'm not able to hear you fully for some reason. I don't know if it's because something just happened because your sound has been great.
Can you hear
So,
me?
oh, much better, much better.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pleased that we chose a topic today because it makes me smile inside. And as I was thinking about it last night, and we talked a little bit earlier today, I just felt like I'm opening a part of myself, and it's all internal that allows me to see even the grander aspect of my particular vision. And as I think about your vision, which you shared a lot last year, I'm just overwhelmed with a sense of joy because you're on this planet with your wife, with your children, with your network, and making big things happen. And that's what I feel when I know people are doing good for the right reasons, independent of my knowledge of them as an individual. And today our topic, folks, just so that you know, is are you bridging the financial literacy gap to achieve financial independence? And the reason why I'm mentioning what I just mentioned in terms of my co-host, Dr. Kwende, is because he has been on this journey with his wife and his colleagues in terms of helping individuals, families, others experience financial independence directly through families, direct through businesses, however they choose to do it. And I am just honored to be on this journey with you, Dr. Kwende.
Yes, Dr. Webb. I mean, I feel truly blessed to to be part of what I probably call a movement to kind of make a difference in the lives of our communities, right? I know we're going to talk about this, but we come from different backgrounds, and frankly, we probably shouldn't be talking about wealth right now, given the background that we have. But it's kind of interesting that we find ourselves here. And for me, there's always a purpose for being anywhere at any point in time, because there are things we have to learn to go to the place that we need to go. So I feel there's a purpose for now as well, right? Being able to make an impact for me, that's a big deal. I think that's why we exist, right? To make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, to make a difference. And you're right, we come from different backgrounds. And who could have known that I would meet you from Africa in the United States? Who would know that I would have the opportunity to meet your remarkable wife, humble, spirit, beautiful? Who would know that I would be able to have this platform to share and share with folks all over the planet and do it in partnership with you and other individuals? Who would know that this little girl that was a throwaway kid could decide that it didn't matter what other people thought? It was all a matter of how I perceived myself and what I chose to do with my life. Same thing with you. You could have said your parents died when you were young. You don't have to do all the kinds of things. You could just kind of float through life. You chose to show up and show out. And and that's why we're here, folks, because we want to remind you that you too can be the CEO of your life. You can choose to make a difference. And that's why we have today's discussion. And the first thing we wanted to do and is just say something about who we are and magnify it here. And we firmly believe that we are responsible for our thoughts, for our feelings, for our reactions, for our responses, for our decisions, for our ability to create the lives that we want to create, respectively. And so when you see leaders by intentional design, we're intentional, right, Dr. Kwende?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's easy to feel like, life happens to you. However, I feel like, what we do, we create that, opportunity to do what we do right now. So I don't believe to do this is just by chance. It has to be something that we are intentional about it for sure.
Yeah. And when we say mold breakers, we're really talking about demonstrating the most valuable aspect of leading, and that is developing, making way for, and promoting leaders. And I don't I hope you don't mind, Dr. Quinde. I'd like to spotlight you for a second because you're here and because I can. And that is, so when you decide to go on this journey, transitioning out of a critical leadership role and do it with your wife into this financial leadership role, out of an executive role within Silicon Valley in the United States, located in the greater San Jose County, into financial services, you didn't decide to do it alone. You decide to bring a childhood friend with you. You decide to bring other people with you. And as a result of doing that, literally, you catapulted them. You allowed them to see an opportunity and they took advantage of it. They seized it. And then they brought in folks themselves to lead. And those folks have brought in other folks. And all of a sudden, we have leaders because you chose to do something and share it with loved ones and individuals you didn't know well, develop them, provide them with some guidance, get out the way and let them blossom. And now some of those individuals are outperforming you in some numerical terms, and yet they're part of your team. So it's not about outperforming in the classic way. It's about making way for people to take off with their own genius and be successful in doing what we do, helping individuals, helping families, and helping business leaders, right?
Absolutely. So for me, I believe leadership is about being like a stepping stone. So if and this is part of why my life changed significantly when I met, my current business mentor, Eric Olson, because he could see the things that I didn't see yet. Right? It had nothing to do with age, right? And then my direct, business partner, I call him my coach, Zach Rand, we worked very closely together all the time. In my mind, though, I believe that I'm supposed to be a stepping stone for the people that I'm trying to lead, right? Which means I have to help them step across some potholes that I went into so they don't have to go into that, which means I expect that if I'm doing it correctly, the people that I mentor should do better than me. That's how I look at it, right? So I'm not surprised when it comes to numerical numbers that I can help people that are doing better financially on the platform that we have. But to me, that says that I'm doing something right.
Mm,
If I'm doing it correctly, my kids should be better than me,
I love it.
right?
I
My
love it.
little kiddos play soccer. I take them to soccer every day. So I expect them to be better. Nobody did that for me, but I do
Mhm.
that for them. So I expect them to be a lot better. So that's the mindset I take to leadership in what we do.
And so leaders are leaders foremost because they develop leaders.
Correct. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then we're strategists with visions. And so I'm going to put that slide back up. You want to read what you shared there?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, I have my vision kind of broken down, but in a nutshell, it's empower the ordinary person through financial education to better leverage the financial system in order to build, protect, and pass on wealth.
Pretty straightforward. And as a compliment, my vision really is I have no idea how long I'm going to be here. I may be here another 5 years, another 10 years, another 30 years. My aim is to ensure that at least 1 million families are financially independent. And so that each one of those families who have a network, without a doubt, probably in excess of 1,000 individuals, but they touch at least the lives of 10 additional families each and help them on the route to the same destination. Because the bottom line for both of us, and I'll let you articulate because you articulate very well on your own. My bottom line is that we all have the opportunity to be authentic. We all have, I think, the responsibility to live authentically. We don't always leverage it. And yet we want you to. I want you to. And the bottom line is, why are we living if not living fully and loving fully and leveraging fully? We get to live this life however long we're here. Why not live it in a big way, in a way that is honoring ourselves, our loved ones, and making a difference in society, leaving it better than we experienced it? That's what it's about. And the reason why financial services, folks, for me, is because we on this planet use money, use different types of exchange as a means to secure what we need and then what we want that's fulfilling. So why not get those means of exchange in this context, this capitalist society? Why not secure the financial resources we need, have them to leverage, and then go about the business of living life? I'll never forget one of my nieces earlier when I asked her months ago, I said, can you describe, oh, this is not it. Can you describe why you do what you do with your children? And I don't know that I'm going to find it. In fact, I don't see it. So my apologies. But essentially what she shared was that she wanted to leave her children, her and her husband, leave her children in a state where they literally do not have to be concerned about money, where they can actually live their dreams. Can you think of anything better, Dr. Kwende, especially considering that you've got 3 remarkable children? And I don't mean that just because they're yours.
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
is it. This is
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
leaving financial legacy. Is where your kids and grandkids don't have to worry about their needs and can pursue their heart's desires. That's what my niece shared.
Great. That's very powerful. And the reason is because there's something called the 3 P's. Okay. It's purpose, passion, and profit. And I believe it's Martin Luther King who said that most people die in their 20s, and the only way to get buried in their 60s because their hope dies, right? A lot of people die with their hope inside of them, with their dreams inside of them, because they never find out why their purpose was being on this earth, right? But if you're fortunate enough to find your purpose, that's the first P. You have to develop a passion for it. So there's purpose and then there's passion, right? But after that, there's profit, right? If you don't have profit, you don't have money, you cannot live your purpose and passion. Now, the point is that, for some people, the purpose, profit, and passion are aligned. So like in what we do right now, it's easy to help people and make a lot of money. So everything is aligned. But for some people, it is not. The reason I like the quote that you just showed, and I tell my kids the same. They love soccer, whatever. But I told them my daughter likes dance. I want to have an opportunity to create the profit for them so they can go live whatever their purpose really is and not have to worry about money. That's exactly what your niece said. And that totally resonates with me. Absolutely.
Interesting. I asked you before we started the broadcast, I don't know how I framed the question, it was around just being financially independent and how that really enables you to experience more of life in terms of in fun aspects, uh, being happy, uh, just allowing for the joy to be more ubiquitous. And what do you say to that, to people who may say, well, there's so much trauma on the planet. There's all these issues. And if you look at the news, how could you possibly smile anytime? If you listen to the distressing circumstances regarding the economy, how could you ever be comfortable? What do you say to that?
Well, life this is our life right here. Okay, sometimes we have the impression that this is the test life. There's none. This is it, right? When I wake up now, because I'm more aware, I understand that this could be the last day that I have. So I have to live that life fully. This is not practice living. This is it, right? So sometimes we have this false sense that, oh, maybe when I get to whatever age, or I get this degree or this job, I make this money. No, this is it right here. This is the life that we have, right? And in life, adversity gives you the opportunity to change. When things are okay, people don't change, they stay the same. But when there's challenges, that's how you grow. So it's really a question of perspective, how people look at, adversity and things that are supposed to be not good. All those things are opportunities for us to be better, to get better. So when you understand that right perspective, then you're always grateful for even being alive, right? So for me, there's always reason. There's always a silver lining in everything, right? There's good in everything, if you look for the good, because there's a lesson you have to learn always. So for me, bad things happening is not about that. It's about real life and then us growing through it. So that's kind of how I don't really look at every day. I'm happy because no matter what's happening, it's kind of funny. My oldest brother passed away like just over a month ago.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, and immediately they called me like 10 minutes after I passed, and they said, "Oh, your brother passed away." And immediately it dawned on me to write down 5 positive things that I remember, how I want to remember him. Right? Because I was like, I have to remember him the right way. So I wrote it down. Okay. And we're gonna have a memorial for him. And I already did, I did a write-up based on those 5 things, but I wrote them down as soon as they called me. That's what I was thinking about. I could have been like, oh my goodness, but I understand at some point we're all gonna check out of here. We already know that. But when it happens, we act like as if it's a surprise when we already know. Right? So for me, I always look like 5 years ahead. It's like, okay, there's a moment right now. What do I need to do today? So I'm going to be happy about it 5 years from now. Right. So that's how I think about life all the time. So every time something happens, I'm like, okay, how do I not want to think about this 5 years from now? That's how I operate.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had an hourglass, and I meant to have it in here to show as the sand comes down, this is a reflection of our past experiences, our lived experiences. And one of my old mentors used this analogy. And then as the sand passes through the middle of the hourglass, that's our point in life. And all the sand above it are the possibilities. And yet we spend a lot of time at the bottom of that hourglass. Oh my God, the history, the issues. And you talk about your loved one who just died, who just passed, your brother. And you immediately went to honoring and in the present, where the wiring is to go and feel that loss, which is understandable because physical loss is a real loss. You still have the spirit of the person as long as you live, and much more. And yet, how I wonder if there's something to say about that hourglass in terms of why we as a society only have at best maybe 10% of the population that's financially literate, and 90%, as our mentor says, has some level of academic education, yet are almost 100% functionally illiterate financially. and yet are smart. They're brilliant, well educated. I'm sure you've experienced a lot of folks like that. I have. I speak to brilliant people and I ask them simple questions and they can't answer them because they never thought of the simple aspects of the rule of money or the rules of money. And so, do you have a way of kind of using that metaphor of the hourglass and in terms of why this financial illiteracy? And I know we share something. We believe it's by design. Can you speak to that?
I like the the concept of the hourglass, right? I think for me, just as you're speaking right now, the challenge with the hourglass is that what we look for where the things went rather than where it's coming from. That makes sense. When the sun goes down, guess what? We're looking down at where it went rather than where it came from. Because if you look from where it came from, you're going to see that there's still some more sand that's going to pass through your current life. That should be more exciting than the sun that already went. But for some strange reason, we always look down and we worry about the sun that already passed that you can't do anything about it. The only way you can make that thing happen, you have to turn over the hourglass. You can never feed the sun back through it. Right? So I'm just saying that it is always typically a question of perspective, if you ask me.
Hmm.
The challenge, though, I believe, is that, in real life, the system has programmed us to be so busy that we really don't have time to think through the things that we do.
Mm.
Because when you start thinking, you see that there are a lot of things that we really don't do. We do that don't make any sense. It is kind of funny. I was traveling this weekend and I was speaking to a group of people, and one of them asked me a very, important question. He's like, "Hey, I understood that, when you understood the business, you quit an household income of about $500,000 and you're only making 40,000. He asked me, where did you get the courage to do that? That's kind of his main thrust of the question. And I thought about it for a second. I'm like, you just told me that you have a job, right? He says yes. And I asked him, does your job have the horsepower to take it to your dream? He said, absolutely not. I said, so where do you find the courage to keep doing it? And he kind of laughs. But, we all have courage. We just don't know where to put the courage correctly.
Let's not leave what you just said because that's powerful. Where do you have the horsepower to stay at a place where you know it will not lead you to fulfill your dreams?
Yeah.
That's powerful. And yet, what are the vast majority of us doing most of our lives? Just that. I don't know that most people know that the average person that retires, it's my age or older, and I'm 63, literally has less than $65,000 to his or her name, and then has to go back to some kind of employment, or hopefully, better yet, some kind of entrepreneurship like what we do. But many go back to employment and they're there to greet us with these wonderful smiles. And we're like, interesting, 70, 80 years old and they're still working? They have to. And so, to your point, how do we have the courage to stick with the status quo that actually doesn't serve our dreams? So, that's part of what we're saying, folks. We really want you to pay attention to you, your own decisions, not think about our decision, your own decisions. I cut you off, Dr. Kwende. I'm sorry.
No, that's perfect. That was very important because it's stuff that we do, and when somebody's asking you, and you start to think, it's like, how are we able as a society to keep doing things that are not in our best, interest, right? Whether it's in politics, it's kind of amazing to watch what goes on around us and how people engage in stuff that really doesn't serve them very well. And I don't know if it's based on lack of knowledge or I'm not sure. So, for example, in science, right, or in academia, people seem to understand what's going on because smart people actually explain what's going on to them. You write papers and so on, right? I don't know. I may be wrong, but I just feel like, I talk about the five fingers, not five fingers: science, engineering, medicine, politics, and money. And my understanding is that if the smartest people are always doing the first three, then guess what? The people that don't have to be so smart do money and politics. That's kind of my takeaway, which is why some things in financial stuff might look hard to understand, but they're really not hard. It's just that they're not being explained correctly. So, for example, how would you say if I asked someone, if someone came to your house to clean your house and they didn't clean the house, would you pay them? They usually say no. So I said, but why is it that when you give your money to a financial professional like through your 401k, whatever, when the market goes up, you make money, you pay them, market goes down, you lose money, you still pay them? How does that? They're like, I didn't think about it like that. But this is part of the knowledge base we have to impact on people. So they start really processing the things that society says we should do when it comes to money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's interesting when we ponder why. I agree. There's something just very nature of the system, and we can specify each area of the system. We don't have time to do that on this broadcast today, but the system wires people, because if it was wired about the greatest good, everyone being financially independent, contributing to society in the most robust way, then we'd have different systems in play. We don't have that. Thus, the spread, the disconnect between those who have the financial knowledge and means to acquire more and those without. And right now, there's so much happening right now in this economy. It's critical that those who don't have the financial knowledge get up to speed very quickly. And that's our business. And what is Judith conveyed? She says, thank you, Dr. Kwende, for what you do for our community. Even when I just stumble on your presentation, I get something new. In a few minutes, I listen. Kudos. Thank you so much, Judith. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we talk about financial literacy gap. Dr. Webb, I just want to ponder something because I shared this with someone. They were kind of like, that doesn't add up. Think about the process of working hard and buying a house, which is part of the American dream. But think about this. If you buy a house, you're supposed to have homeowners insurance. Okay. And when you look on your homeowners insurance, it tells you that if this house were to burn down, we're going to replace your house by, like, let's say 500,000 in California. They're going to say it's 500,000 to replace your house. That's the value of your house. But you paid $1 million for the house. Where did that come from? Your house burns down, you paying to replace your house 500,000, but your mortgage is based on having $1 million. How does that work? And then they also told you on the mortgage paper that if you actually paid up the $1 million home, you're going to pay like $2.2 million, for example. So the house is worth 500,000, which you're paying for insurance to replace, but you're actually going to pay $3 million or two. What kind of setup is that? But we just accept it because that's how they tell us it's supposed to be.
We also accept some other things, and that is that as I love when you convey it, and that is that we annually should get a medical checkup, right? I know you know where I'm going, and so we ask people, and I use this a lot now. When was the last time you got a medical checkup? And they say, oh, 3 months ago, 6 months ago. Like, well, because of the pandemic, I haven't done it in 2 years, but I'm scheduled for it next week. Cool. When was the last time you had a financial checkup? And they look at me like I'm some alien being. And I wait patiently with the same kind of openness. And what do you mean? Well, do you know your financial independence number? They look at me the way I looked at you the first time I heard it years ago, right? And then we get to a place where they're like, I didn't even know. I didn't know. And the good news is that the vast majority of people want to know. They want to know what they don't know. And that's why we're doing what we do, Dr. Kwende, right? And we want people to leverage. So why is there a lack of financial education? Both of us can explain what we perceive to be why, but it's not relevant. What's relevant is that you have access to financial education, and it's available almost in plain sight. And yet, if you don't know what to look for, you will never see it. And that's what separates those who we call the 1% from the rest of us, or definitely those who are among the 5 to 10% from the rest of us. And we're working to bridge the gap. We don't believe there should be a gap in knowledge. And with knowledge, all of a sudden your planning is much more likely to lead to the results you want. Without the knowledge that you need, you can do all the planning you want, you may spin and wonder why you're spinning. What do you say about that?
No, absolutely, absolutely. It's kind of mind-boggling just to see the difference, to understand what could be different just by knowing what you need to know, right? It's not a lot of knowledge base that is required, and that's what's kind of amazing to me. I've been sharing this with most people. I wasn't born here, right? I came to the US for the American dream, and in my mind, the American dream was having the right education, having the nice job, buying the nice cars, and then buying a house. So I did all of that, right? And I felt like I was there. But then I realized that if I were driving on the highway and some idiot were to hit my car, my job could be gone just like that. And if my job was gone, guess what? They're gonna take my car if I'm still paying, and they're gonna take the house if I can pay. So then the American dream just became the American nightmare, just like that. Now also I understand that with our company, what we do, the knowledge that we teach, I can significantly move myself away from the thin line that separates the American dream from the American nightmare just by having more knowledge, which is what? Being able to create leverage. Which means if I had a job and I had an accident, then that was it. But if I have a business like I do right now, even if I had an accident, it's not a big deal anymore. Right? So this is kind of how we need to start understanding what's going on, so we have the chance to breach, the knowledge gap, and then be able to have some chance of becoming financially free.
Yeah, we have a tendency of doing something that I think increasingly more people, whether they're formally educated or streetwise, and let me tell you, there are people I've met who are streetwise, not formally educated, that are brilliant. And so I don't think we should assume just because we have PhDs after our names and you have a MBA and I have an MA and we've got all these years of education that we're inherently more educated than the next person. In fact, some of my best learnings have come from folks who have no college degree. And so it's not about a college degree. It is about using your critical faculties, your thinking faculties, your heart mind connection, which is invaluable because most people don't know and take for granted that our thinking mind is what drives us, is actually what drives most of what we do daily. It's our emotional mind. And when we understand that and we understand our ability to rewire it so that we're literally wired with a growth mindset and we go after information in order to build the life of our dreams, because we've taken that dream and operationalized it into literally, or you've taken the vision, operationalized into dream, and then reduced it up or elevated it up to goals, and we go after it. We go after it. That action in action always leads to results when we focus. Follow one course until successful. I had someone on, was it last week? Yeah, I believe so. Dear friend, he's a major general, remarkable man, humble man. And I asked them a question, Dr. Kwende. I said, how did you come to aspire to lead within the military and to be promoted? I didn't even talk about his time with many presidents in the White House, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't go there. But he just said, I just didn't know. I was a kid. I saw people being harmed and I stepped in. I was this tall, lanky kid. I didn't know. I wasn't trying to be a leader, and people saw me walk in the door and they treated me as though I was a leader. And here I wanted to be like my dad, a brilliant man, and he was the most educated man I knew. Had no formal education, and yet brilliant. Taught himself things and navigated, built a farm, etc. He didn't know. And yet, as he talked through his experiences, he broke down what we know to be directly aligned with stellar leaders. And that is having some burning desire for something. And he wanted to do good in his own way in a space that not everybody agrees with. And yet he made a big difference. And as a result, he was promoted. And if he chose to stay, he would probably have been promoted even more. The point is that we don't have to have a formal trajectory or a plan that says, I'm going to end up being a brigadier, or I'm going to end up being a 1-star or 2-star general, and on and on. We can just decide what it is that is my ultimate vision, and then focus, because nothing deterred him. He had a focus, and now his legacy is looking back and saying, I can do more. So engage in the community. I can do more. Became a CEO of a corporation, major corporation. I can do more. Spend more time with family. I can do more. And so we're not saying to you folks that you've got to follow our trajectory. We're saying have a clue. Follow one that actually allows you to experience the life where you're actually financially free to live the way you want. So what is financial freedom? One definition, and Dr. Kwende will complement and share his, is living life comfortably, doing what you want when you want. You have the money to pay for all your living expenses and for the rest of your life without having to work to earn money. That's what financial freedom is. And so you don't have to be a multimillionaire to be financially free. You don't have to be stuck somewhere and working your butt off for the rest of your life to try to get to financial freedom. You could actually use some smart information, take strategic action using key products and services to have your money work harder for you than you work for it. What say you, Dr. Kwende?
Absolutely. Financial freedom is even when you make a lot of money, it's not even for me so much about that, right? It's truly about having the free mind to live on your own terms, right? For some people, they don't need a lot to live the life that they want. So they don't have to have a lot of money to make that possible. But the opportunity that they can control what they do, when they do it, how they do it, that's the key. Some people are financially free at a low level. However, if it comes to having money, you cannot have enough money. Why? Because yes, you can have a good life, but guess what? You can make a difference in other people's lives. So when it comes to making money, there's really no limit to how much money you can make if you know the good that the money can make. So when people say, "Oh, I have enough money, so I'm financially free," to me that doesn't even make sense, because if you can make a lot of money, you can give a lot of money away, right? And if you are the only rich person in your surrounding, then you're not rich either, right? So you have to be able to lift up other people. So when it comes to making money, for me, there's not enough money you can make if you know how to give it away. And when you talk about, someone trying to emulate what we've done, I don't even want anyone to emulate what I've done. I don't want you to go get a PhD, get an MBA to know that the system doesn't work. I don't want you to do that. If you need one, come and take mine. Okay. I'm happy to give it to you for free. But it's about understanding how the systems truly work, about understanding the concept of leverage. Right? We teach you about the left and the right side of the cash flow quadrant. One way you have to do the work yourself. The other one, you can leverage other people's time. Every wealthy person, every free person, things still have to happen, right? But you being able to leverage, that's the key, right? So I'm just saying, we can do more with our life by leveraging other people's efforts as well. And that's even where the leadership comes in. Yeah, so I see you put up the recording, right?
Yeah.
I said I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's time than 100% of mine. Right? So on the left side, 100% of your income is coming just from you. But on the right side, only 1% of your income comes from you, and then 99% of your income comes from 99 other people, which means upfront you have 99% of your time free. That's where the freedom really comes, when you can leverage other people's time to get what you want. It has nothing to do with how much education you have. In fact, most people that are educated are on the left side of this whole thing, by the way.
And we say by design.
Yeah.
And there's nothing inherently wrong with any of these quadrants if they work for you. What I would say is that the right side of this visual, it actually works better for everyone. And I can imagine a society where we have everyone on the right side. And I think some people, and actually, no, I know some folks have heard that from me and said, oh, well, we've got to have people who are employees. Really? Why? Couldn't you have people who are part ownership of everything? Literally building the infrastructure of everything? At Lead Live, we're not about the status quo. If the status quo works for you, we wish you well. The status quo has not worked for the vast majority of people. So we're about shifting your perspective and saying, what can we do to ensure that more people are choosing to build and be part of building in partnership something that serves the greatest good all the time? Not just sometimes, because I can hear some messages in my head of people saying, well, I'm an entrepreneur and I give of my time, I give money. Well, okay. And so you're in this quadrant here where we would call on the left side at the bottom. And so you're doing a phenomenal job. But if you left your job, with the job still with your business continue to run. No, I've got to be there. Okay. So you don't really own a business. You are owned by your business, right? Because if you don't work, there's no income coming in. And if you don't work, if you don't produce, you have no resources to be able to give in the way you want to give, right? Oh, that's why we say leverage the right side of the quadrant. And you can move slowly into that. Or you might be able to leverage us or others to move more efficiently onto the right side. Why? Because you've got the freedom of time. Yes, there's hard work you've got to do, but you're providing hard work as an entrepreneur. And when your employer says you got to show up, you show up. When they say you have to show out, many of you show out. Well, actually, less of you, because how many people supposedly left the classic employment last year? Over 30 million, supposedly 40 million. Well, we're suspicious of those. I'm suspicious of those numbers. Probably a lot of folks were not called back, or they are doing what a lot of increasingly more of us are doing is moving to the entrepreneurial space in order to build a business so they're on the right side of this quadrant. However, you choose to live your life, we just want you to know that within a year, you can transform your thinking. Actually, you can transform your thinking within a day. Within a year, 2, 3 years, you can transform the nature of your entire financial well-being. We know many people have done it, and we have done it. Right, Dr. Kwende?
Absolutely. When I first saw the cash flow quadrant the first time, it just got me like thinking deep. And I was like, I wish somebody showed me that when I started school, like just the understanding of it. And uh, you have to read certain types of books to be exposed to information like that. You have to meet certain types of individuals to see the cash flow quadrant. You would think that's something that you're going to teach high school students, but that's not what happens, because that's not what the system looks like, right? But that's fundamentally important. And I know you said everyone could be on the right side. The truth is this, and I kind of agree with you in this way. If I make money and somebody paid me, that person could not pay me all the money that I created. Because if they did, they own no business, right? So every time we get paid, no matter what we do, someone kept part of our value. That's the only way that it makes sense, right? If you work and somebody gave you all the money, then they don't own the business. But if you're a medical doctor, you work and they pay you money, then the hospital kept some of your effort. That makes sense, right? So no matter what you do, someone always gets part of your effort. That's the bottom line. The question you need to ask yourself is, whose effort are you getting? In our normal lives, we allow the system to get part of our effort. We allow others to get part of our effort, but we don't get other people's effort. So in the cash flow column on the right side, if you only have to work 1% of your time and you get 1% from like 100 other people, you still have the same lifestyle, but you don't have to work as much. If you have 1,000 people, you can have an amazing lifestyle and never even have to work, right? But you have to start somewhere. So I'm just saying, just to support what you were saying, if you understand that every time you work, someone gets a piece of your action, all you need to ask yourself is, how many other people's pieces of action can I get? That's what made me change what I used to do. Because I understood that if I got on the platform that allow me to take a piece of other people's action, then I'll be good. It doesn't stop me. I still have to do what I have to do. But I can get a piece from other people as well. That's called leverage.
It's definitely leverage, and leading by example, helping other people to understand how to do leverage. I mean, think about the societies, and there's still societies on the planet where they don't use the means of exchange that we're used to, money, whether or gold or silver or minerals. They use they use rocks, they use clothing. I mean, it's all kinds of different resources. The bottom line is there is a means of exchange, and that's what you're emphasizing. So we want to get people to shift away from, oh, they're just talking about money and wealth. Actually, we are. Powerful, yet it's a means to get to an end. It's not an end in and of itself. And the reason why we talk about it is because it should be ubiquitous. It should just be taken for granted. We use money all day long, and we're not educated on how to use it. And we have too many examples, brilliant examples of people coming to the country from Mexico, from Africa, from the Philippines, from Canada, etc. And they, within a few years, they go from earning $10 an hour at Chipotle. I can't even pronounce the name of that organization accurately, so my apologies. Chipotle. And obviously, I've not eaten there. I hope they provide very good fast food. And yet, one of our colleagues, thanks to your team, literally came in, was earning less than $10 an hour. And now he's literally, as of December, he's earning over $1 million that year. And he did it providing a service or services, products and services that are invaluable, that help people. That's brilliant. That's what we're talking about. And then he's leading folks, helping them to do the same thing. It's just an example. It's a brilliant example. I think I told you I was thinking about one of my nephews who just moved to Africa, the continent of Africa, and went to a particular country because he and his wife and beautiful children, my great nephews and niece, he wants them to experience being a part of giving for at least a year. We don't know how long they're going to be there. They may not know. They said definitely going to give it a year, where all they're about this year is giving. I mean, just literally closed everything here and transported themselves there, place they've never been. They've never been to the continent of Africa, let alone that country. And all they're about is giving. Can you imagine living in a context, worldwide context, that we just get to, have fun, be in joyful state, happy, yes, struggles, challenges, but our wiring is to recognize the glass is always half full. We're responsible for filling it up and sharing it and ensuring that there's enough for everybody. And that's the common currency. Can you imagine that? That's what I imagine every day.
And that's amazing. That's why I love my life right now. Because my goal every day is to get the most thank yous that I can get. And I know people don't give me thank yous for not doing something good. So it forces me to be good. Every day. How many thank yous can I get? That's what I think all the time. How many thank yous can I get? That's how I live life right now. So I'm always very grateful and very happy. because of that. If I can make someone smile, no matter how small, that's kind of my goal every day that I live right now.
If you were to define or summarize the steps you would encourage people to think about and perhaps to leverage to get to the place where they bring their gifts to bear to become financially literate if they're not currently, what would you encourage them to do?
Well, first of all, we have to realize that where we are is not where we need to be.
Where we are at is not where we need to be.
You have to know first. That's why we do the financial health check. Okay. When you do the financial health check, that's where you see the gaps. Okay. And your desire to change that is just based on your understanding that it's possible to change it. Right. There was a lady I was talking to. She was like explaining how she was frustrated when she's trying to share with some people what we do and they were not getting it. So I asked her, I said, what kind of car do you drive? She says, well, I drive a Ford Mustang. I remember something like that. I said, are you happy with your car? She said, yes. I said, are you looking for a new car? She said, absolutely not. So I said, well, did you hear that Ford just sent out the recall for the Ford Mustang because they're catching fire? And she's like, what? I'm like, are you open to a new car right now? She says, yes. I said, great. I said, guess what I just did? I just created a need in your mind. Now you're open to a new car, right? She kind of laughed, but she got the point. All I'm saying is most of us need better. We should be better, but because we're not aware, we're okay where we are.
We're very comfortable.
Right. So until we can create that need, people are not going to move because they feel like they're fine. So that's why, for me, it's like we have to learn to make people see where they are. So the financial check is a key component of what we have to do. Until you see the gaps, you can't be open to doing anything about it.
And what I have found that is invaluable, so the financial needs analysis that we do is powerful, first of all, folks. Literally, you get a report that you're able to look at and you get to see your numbers illuminated off the page. And you're like, wow, I just didn't know. And yet your details. In fact, your details inform that report. And you get to see it laid out in a way that makes your financial picture transparent. And yet I think about one person who, because of being urged, pulled out all of her documentation. Brilliant woman, without going to all the details, sharing her private information, and was traumatized. And what she did was she closed it up. So she saw the big picture and was like, oh, that's insufficient. That's insufficient. And just shut it down. And not every story is a perfect story for folks. The good news is months later, that individual came back to me and said, I am struggling with this. I'm going to share with you more because I need help, but this is freaking me out. And so I'm curious, do you find a lot of people experiencing that too, even though they understand this is their stuff, not ours, this is theirs, and they have the opportunity to make a major shift?
Yeah, I I was kind of fortunate, because through my education and career, I made enough money to be able to afford a financial professional. So I used to go to my financial professional annually. And in the process, I recognized that, I didn't see people like me there at all. Okay. When I went to a financial professional,
Meaning Black men?
Yeah, yes, absolutely correct. Yes. I didn't see people like me there at all. And I used to be wonder, it kind of like got to me a little bit, but I was like, yeah, maybe people don't like coming here. Yeah. But I also realized afterwards that without access to a licensed financial professional, there's a lot of information you will never know in this country. Right? So that's kind of what got me starting to think about, what's going on. So 95% of people don't go to a financial professional. which means that the information that everyone needs to know when it comes to their money, 95% people have no clue whatsoever. Now we can blame the system, or we can change the outcome, right? I think right now we're choosing to change the outcome. That's why we have this, this show where we talk about what people need to know, right? Rather than complaining about the system is whatever it is, but we have the knowledge to navigate the system in our benefit. And that's what we're trying to do rather than just complain about it.
Well, I want to encourage people to do what we've talked about continuously, and that is to have a vision for your life, whatever that vision is, and to create a plan. It could be a one-page plan. It doesn't have to be 30, 50 pages, a one-page plan, whatever that is, that has specific goals, and then decide what strategy you're going to use. But then you want to back up before you even complete that plan and leverage a licensed financial professional to help you determine how best to get to whatever goals you have that requires money. So you're going to have goals. It's all about your lifestyle that you'd like to live, contributions you'd like to make. You're going to have costs, projected expenses to get to those places, that house, that car, that travel, that contribution to a community center, that building a community center, and then knowing what your financial independence number is, what you have to save in order to get there, and then leveraging, understanding who or what to leverage, and then, of course, having a strategy that you implement literally on a daily, a weekly, a monthly, a 6 months review basis, definitely on a regular basis. So you're interested in leveraging quality, knowledgeable, complementary, licensed financial professionals, contact us. And what do we mean by complementary? This throws people off, Dr. Kwende, often. They're like, you don't charge for all the hours that you just spent with me? We are in a very lucrative profession. Financial services is the largest industry on the planet, the most regulated industry in the United States, which we are so deeply appreciative of. And we get to help our clients, and we get to leverage the resources from other means. We get to help you, complementary, understand how to make your plan implementable, how to achieve having your money work for you harder for you than you work for it. You want to add any more to that, Dr. Kwende?
Yeah, I think this whole topic of becoming financially independent is something that most people desire, but they never talk about because they don't even think it's possible, right? So it's very, very doable, very, very possible if you know where to stand, right? So for some of us that have done the regular stuff and we've been successful at the regular system, to come to this at this point is kind of like crazy because it's more challenging to do. I just feel like every individual deserves the right to know some foundational stuff about their money so they can put themselves, their families, now and for generations to come in a much better financial outcome. Right. So for me, that's the passion that I have to make sure that I can help whoever is open to learning to understand how to leverage the system for themselves better.
Yeah. And I want to just go back briefly to something you said earlier and just illuminate it. We're this is my paraphrasing, significant paraphrasing. We're promoted to think wealth is about accumulation of things, right? So we work hard, we make a lot of money, those of us who do, in different venues, young, older, elders, and then we buy things. And we do that as doctors, we do that as lawyers, we do that as engineers, we do that as ballers, professional ballers in whatever sports. We do that in a variety of places. We do that as remarkable entrepreneurs that most people don't know, but we're creating products and services that bring in a lot of money. Yet at the end of the day, what do we have to show for it? We have all of these assets that have actually lost their value or losing their value, with a few exceptions. And then we've gone from having a lot to having very little because we weren't looking at the big picture. And we're encouraging you to look at the big picture and understand how to leverage not only education, which is essential, foundational, yet the kinds of products and services that are tried and true from A and A plus rated companies that will help ensure you get to your destination, that you have to know where you want to go to begin with. Thoughts, Dr. Kwende?
You're absolutely right, Dr. Webb. And this is where, for me, I'm very passionate about this particular area, uh, that the ordinary person should be able to do better for themselves in this system. And there's plenty to go around. At least, 5% of people being free out of 100%, that doesn't make any sense. It should be a lot better, right? And that's what we're striving to do. So I want to appreciate you for creating this platform, right? For welcoming me on this, so we can be able to talk about this very important topic, right? Of the wealth equation, because it's one of those things people want to talk about, but no one really adequately focuses on it, in my view. So I'm excited to be a part of this, and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Dr. Kwende, for choosing to be part of this. And thank you all who are viewing now and who will view in the future. Just leverage us in whatever way you deem most appropriate, but more importantly, get the information you need as part of leveraging us. You need to get to where you idealize and make a difference. The more success that's out there, we are all better off, literally. So, always an honor. Wishing you faith, beautiful families, awesome financial wealth, definitely extraordinary fitness, and a lot of fun. That's the wealth equation: faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. We appreciate you. Go out there, enjoy, and start the enjoyment from within. Why don't?